Howdy folks, welcome to the Daily Coin. My name is Rory and today is Sunday, February the 25th, 2018. And I have the very distinct honor and great pleasure of welcoming back to the show the silver guru himself, hot off the trail down to Anarchapulco, Mr. David Morgan. David, welcome back to the Daily Coin.
Rory, thanks for having me so much. And I just have to remind everybody the guru title was self-imposed. I certainly used it, but I don't take it that seriously, and I don't think anyone else should. So you got to be a little bit leery of any gurus. So with that in mind, let's proceed.
Well, I was thinking about maybe we should change it to crypto guru.
No, that's even further from the truth. I'm certainly learning about the crypto market and certainly don't have much of a handle on one. Reminds me of an old joke. I don't want to digress too far, but it's called the Far Side. And I don't know if they still do that column or not, but the first picture shows a guy with a suitcase that he's about to pick up. He says, "I used to think I had a handle on life." And then the next drawing shows him with the handle in his hand. The suitcase has fallen to the ground and goes until the handle broke.
There you have it. That's a perfect analogy. It's you like I said just a moment ago, you were at Anarchapulco, and we're going to get into that in just a second. But since you gotten back, or within the last 48 hours, David, you released a video that was timestamped for the 16th, so you actually made it before you went, but it sounds like you didn't, or it appears that you didn't release it until afterwards. I've got it. If you take a look at the screen there, you'll see what I'm talking about, and it's about cryptographic silver and LODE, L-O-D-E. And if you would, David, just give us a brief description of what is going on with this and your involvement with it.
Absolutely. So you were exactly right. I recorded it on the 16th. There was trouble with the URL. So any of your listeners, viewers that want to get more information should go and just type this in to your URL. It's AG, the atomic symbol for silver, AG, all lowercase, small a, small g, dot, LODE, L-O-D-E, dot, one, O-N-E. So it's ag.lode.one. And it'll take you to an introductory page, and you can sign up one of two ways. You can sign up to actually pledge silver, which I'll get to in a minute, or probably more conservative, what I would recommend is you just get on the newsletter so that you stay informed of how this project is going. But I got involved more than a year ago after the Vancouver Resource Investment Conference. I was told by David Smith, who's worked with me for years, that there was a group that was going to back a cryptographic currency with silver. And obviously I needed to hear about it. So I sat there. Now, one of the gentlemen I'd known for years, and everyone else in the group except David, I was meeting for the first time. So the idea is to remonetize silver. Now, Roy, let me digress and bring me back. You know me well. I certainly don't think in a linear manner. I shoot all over the place, but I do it in a logical way. So I've really wanted to see silver reinstituted as money for basically my whole life. I mean, ever since we went off official government-backed currency in 1965, but we theoretically went off the monetization of silver with the crime of 1873. I don't want to get in that debate. If you're interested, Google it and study it. The point being that silver hasn't been circulating since 1965 in the United States. So I wanted to see that happen again. And in my lifetime, a lot has happened, but nothing significant enough to cause a change. I digress further to say that the bill was passed in Utah, one of the early states that adopted the fact that you could trade silver or gold anywhere at any time in the state, as long as both parties agreed, for anything. So you could theoretically go to Walmart, buy laundry detergent with silver and walk out. The problem is that silver varies day to day and what the fiat value of it is, the fiat equivalent, I should say. And, this just gets very cumbersome. So my idea was the only way that would work is to have a silver-backed debit card that would allow the transaction to be basically transparent to the merchant, so that Walmart didn't know that the card you were using was debiting out silver or gold. And if that were the case, it would function. And we proposed that to the people in Utah. Never took off. The idea is at law. It hasn't taken off at all. Although the silver-backed debit card, gold-backed debit card has somewhat. But that's another story I'll leave for another day. So coming back to Load, they explained that this would be the reinstitution to utilize silver as money. So the basic premise, Rory, is that there's a lot of, let's say, disgruntled silver bugs, yours truly one of them, have the opportunity to pledge silver into the Load system. And once you pledge silver into the Load system, you are at risk. You may not get it all back. You may make profit in silver on it. Obviously, I'm hoping for the latter, but it funds the project. So you cannot fund this project with Bitcoin or Ether or any of the cryptos. You can't fund it with fiat. The only way you could fund the program is to pledge silver. And I love that idea. That right there,
yes.
That right there remonetizes it at some point, really.
Yes.
And we monetize it on a gram basis, just like gold money. So now that the pledges are coming in, and that's why you want to go to agx.load.one, because if you're so inclined, you can. I'm not saying you should, but you could pledge silver. And look, Chris Duane is already. I digress again, Rory, but again, you know me. Chris has already made a video about not liking or not wishing to have anything to do with cryptographic or crypto-backed silver. And, Chris and I will remain friends no matter what, because, he's a high-integrity individual. We don't have to agree on everything. What's interesting about his video about not doing it is he said, well, after the collapse, maybe then it would be a good idea. My argument would be, why not do it now before the collapse so it's already in place? But anyway, let me come back. But what he implies, and maybe I misheard him, is, giving putting in a lot of your silver into a project like this. I would never do that, nor would I ever recommend that. I had, let's say, more than a schoolboy effort to pledge myself. And after I thought about it, I could lose that much silver and it wouldn't really affect my lifestyle that much because I have such low debt. But I thought, I really don't want to risk that much. So several of the bars I brought back, I basically cut it in half, Rory, and I'm not going to tell you the amount, but
it's not important.
It's more than, let's say, a few tokens, okay? So, and I'm willing to do that. But the idea is that we are going to re-monetize silver. It's going to be re-monetized by we, the people. It's not by David Morgan. It's not by the founder of this company. It is by the people. Why? It's a distributed ledger technology. Right now, it's slated to run on the upgraded version of Ethereum. Don't ask me what that means because I don't know. It could go to the hash graph. We don't know. The white paper isn't done yet. Why isn't the white paper done? Because, one, we got to load the program with physical silver to get the funds to get the white paper done. We're going through, my understanding at this point in time, things change in life, people that haven't run businesses before. It will be through what we call Crypto City or Crypto Valley. There's Silicon Valley, where there's Crypto Valley in a canton in Switzerland that is probably the top notch. One of the guys that's helping to spearhead the foundational efforts of this is a gentleman that is known as, I won't call him the crypto guru, but that's basically what he is in Canada. Met with him several times. By the way, I've made several meetings with these guys. It's not like I meet them one time. Oh, yeah, I like it. Let's do it. No. That's not how, David Morgan operates. I didn't say anything to the public until, a couple days ago. You're on my list, Rory. You saw it then, and that's when I did it. How long I've been looking at this? Again, more than a year. So let me come back. So once you are in the system and you've loaded the system and it starts to function, which may be April, May, June, I don't know, you have the possibility as the system cranks through and makes two coins. One's a load coin, which is a founder coin, and the other one is an AGX coin, AG, silver again, X. So it's a coin based on 1 gram of silver. So whatever that's worth, like 74 cents a gram right now or something along those lines. I'm not sure the exact number, but you get the idea. You can do the math. So that coin can be spent or it can be collected. Now, you're not going to get mailed a gram of silver from any coin dealer in the United States or any of the ones that we associate worldwide. This is a worldwide project. In fact, a lot of the pledges have come from France, believe it or not. But But there'll be a set amount, just like in a lot of these debit cards or coin dealers. I mean, a lot of coin dealers will sell you 1 ounce of silver, and that's fine. It's their choice. And some will limit like 20. If you don't buy 20 coins, we're really not interested in doing business with you. So don't want to harp on that too much. Just want people to be realistic about this. But as this system progresses, it is going to gain more momentum and more momentum. And every time that it cycles through the whole cycle, which means all these grams that have been pledged have been spent into circulation, or I would say circulation, but spent through the system, then you are going to acquire more silver into the system. And it's going to be 100% backed by silver. So all the AGX coins, all the systems produced by people wanting to participate. So there's 2 ways to participate. One, you can participate just as a user of the system, or you could participate as a founder of the system.
Got it.
And, of course, most people would probably be best served by letting this thing season, watching it work, everything function properly, and just using it. But, again, there's those that are fed up, they're tired, they are, let's say, more aggressive, and they say, you know what? I got all this silver collecting dust. I'm going to take a portion of the silver. I'm going to pledge it. And I'm getting on board because I want to get silver back in the monetary system.
Right.
And this is the opportunity to do that.
I like it. I like the premise, the idea that you've presented so far. I think that it's viable. I mean, if it functions within the system, if it's similar, and it sounds similar to what James Turk and Gold Money are doing with gold, it sounds like you guys are doing it with silver, and you're putting it on blockchain or distributed ledger technology, whichever way you want to describe it. To me, it's the same. It might not be the same, but it sounds like the same. But I like the fact that can bring silver as money and currency back into the system where it belongs, and that it allows us to allow some of the silver bugs that want to participate to be able to put their silver to work. I mean, I hear that constantly about, I've just got the silver, it's not doing anything. I don't, I need to just get rid of it. And there's one person out there that made a big splash about getting rid of all his silver, and sorry for his bad luck, because he could have kept it and put it into this program. But so you're looking at probably midsummer, summertime.
I just did a mastermind interview for my top tier clients at the Morgan Report, the members. And of course, they get to participate with whoever I have for that any given month. And he indicated probably summer. But, again, being in business myself, right, a lot of times these things take a little longer than you expect, especially when you have legal issues.
Right.
And I don't want to use the word dividend on your silver, so let's just say rewards. But, where else can you go? I don't know anywhere that you can go with physical silver and get rewards for it. Now, well, wait a minute, David. This sounds like a scam. No, it's just like a coin, or very similar to how a coin dealer operates. I had had dinner with Mike Maloney down in Anarchapulco. We had a great dinner, but that's a side issue again. So, when Mike sells a coin to you, or coins, or a monster box, or 10 monster boxes, or whatever, he makes a spread on the transaction. He buys the silver from a wholesaler. He marks it up 1.5%, 2%, and he sells it to you, and you're happy to pay that because you don't have the clout to buy it from the wholesaler at a 2% discount. Well, the same thing here in the load system. When someone's out buying an AGX coin, they're going to pay basically what the market dictates, but it's going to have in that, let's say, 2% spread. Well, that 2% spread is a very low markup, but times a million grams, 100 million grams, I don't know how big this thing's going to get. I wanted to get so big that we, the people, control the silver market. We, the people, control the silver price, and we bring back the death of the paper paradigm. We bring back the physical market controlling the price of silver. Wouldn't that be a concept? See, now you're getting my full undivided attention, because if we, and this goes back to an idea that I presented a few months ago, as far as people coming together and rallying behind an idea. Now we've got some nuts and bolts to work with here. We've got absolutely,
we've got something where we can come together and say, And like Chris Dwayne, I've been very vocal about staying away from cryptocurrency, period. Not a fan, hate them, see them as nothing but a problem. And however, with physical with physical silver, physical gold, working within the system that exists already, which is what you're talking about. It's exactly like gold money, which works within the system that currently exists, brings gold back to the system. You're talking about bringing silver back to the system. What's not to like?
Yeah, well, that's the way I see it. Obviously, I'm biased. Anyone who's spent more than 10 minutes listening to any of my videos would know that. But, silver's the original money. It's the first money in the Bible. Silver's been used as money more places, more times for more transactions than gold ever has. Not that gold isn't money, but silver is really the money of the people. And to me, I've always stressed that money is power. And
right.
The people that print it have all the power over us. Well, if we could take it back, and the thing I like about the distributed ledgers technology is that it's us. It's not any one person, right? There's no central authority. It's all in the ledger, so there's no cheating. One of the biggest issues about any system that's an alternative currency is the trust issue, and this is where the blockchain has a big advantage. I, like you, Rory, have never been that big a fan of the Bitcoin situation or any of these non-backed systems. A lot of them are going to die, in my view, and I've stated that verbally more than once. But here's one that's a hybrid. And so this is like going back to the old days of the gold standard, if you will, or the gold exchange standard, where gold was too cumbersome. And so the goldsmiths gave you these certificates, and there was a one-to-one correspondence between the amount of gold and the amount of certificates. And then they said, hey, wait a minute, hardly anyone ever brings all these certificates back. We can issue more certificates than there are gold, called cheating, lying, right. Stealing. This exactly. Is what happened, right? And this is what happens in some of these coin dealers. We just lost, Bullion Direct, and we know what happened to Tulving, and we know what happened in the Northwest Territorial Mint. But on the distributed ledger, that cannot happen. So now you have one of the most trusted monies in world history, silver, backed by a system that basically cannot fail. If the distributed ledger is there, everything that's pledged gram by gram, ounce by ounce, ton by ton, multi-ton by multi-ton. So that I love. So now we are just adapting the oldest money in the world to the newest technology in the world, where it's a trust thing. Everyone trusts physical silver that knows anything about it, which is 0.001% of the population. Let's get that to 1% of the population. Let's get that to 5% of the population. Can you imagine what would happen? Imagine that this catches on fire and people determine that they could control their own destiny by their own free market money and take the bankers totally out of the question. This is the dream that most of cryptocurrency promoters state. And I'm not saying they're wrong. What I'm saying is that this system is one I can really sink my teeth into because I know I can put it in my hand. I got in a discussion with one of the guys in Anarchapulco, and he was telling me that, one of these cryptos is really physical because of this and that. And I said, well, the idea is there's two types of theories of money. There's one that's specie money, and there's one that's a legal fiction. If this is really physical, then put one of those things in my hand. And you can't. You can't do that.
Right.
With load, you can. You can say, I've got, 127, AGX coins. I don't know what the minimum is going to be. Send me, and there'll be a number of dealers. It's not going to be like 1,000 dealers, but there'll be dealers all over the world that'll be associated with the system. And you will be able to say, I want to cash out X amount of AGX coins for silver, and then you're going to get the silver.
I like that. I'm a big fan of physical.
Yep.
Because as we've said as long as I've been associated with gold and silver, the saying has been, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. And
that's right.
I like holding it. So.
Yep. And that's the deal here. The pledgers are taking a bigger risk. You're funding the system. Think of it as crowdsourcing, crowdfunding. Think of it however you want. That's one way to think of it accurately. And you're going to have to wait. You're going to have to be patient. You're going to have to let this thing work, But like any business, you don't make a massive profit your first day in business. In fact, you're probably going to get your friends and family to help fund you. You're going to go to risk, and you're going to have some losses. You're going to have to, eat somehow or other until this thing starts to make a profit.
Right.
And before you make a profit, you have to break even. And this is the way things work in the real world.
Hello.
But the point I'm making is I really believe this will work, or I wouldn't have gotten involved. Secondly, you can fund it, as I keep saying, and be somewhat patient. But I'd say within a couple of years, easily, you should be able to get your AGX coins as a result of you being an initial founder, and those you could cash in, and at some point you would not only break even with what you pledged, but from that point on, you were getting rewards that were above and beyond what you pledged. And isn't that a nice way to get a reward of physical? And again, it's because there's friction in the system, and the friction is consistent with the silver market at large. So, I've tried to poke holes in this, Rory. Like I told you, I didn't just say, oh, we're going to do this, and I started jumping up and down and, having a big, free-for-all fest at all. In fact, you know me fairly well, Rory, and I've got an engineering background. I got a pretty logical mind. I've been burned enough in this world to really, squint my eyes and take a hard look at things. I digress again to talk about the Morgan Report. This is the way we look at the resource sector at large. There's people that are all on the lithium train or the cobalt train or the rare earth element train or the whatever. There's so few of those companies I would ever invest in because most of them are not worth taking a second look at. But I digress to come back. But this is what we do, and this is what we do right. Do we get it right 100% of the time? No, we don't. But we get it right more than almost anybody else in the industry. And I know because they all come to me to look for what, they put in their reports later on down the road, but they usually don't cite where they got the source from. Anyway, I digress to come back. I'm excited about it.
It sounds like you're excited.
It was so well received. It was right at the entrance of the Anarchapulco show. Right as you walked in from this beautiful Princess Hotel, came down the steps, and started walking toward the great big, huge showroom. The Load AGX coin display was there. And almost everybody that went to Anarchapulco not only walked by it, but I'd say probably 70, 80% stopped and at least became familiar with the concept, and many of them signed up.
That's great. I like the sound of that. And how you said that got my attention is that this could potentially move a lot of the physical silver into a position of being able to challenge the current paper paradigm. And how do you see the physical silver market over the remainder of 2018 and beyond? Obviously you must be really bullish about what's going on.
Well, what I did was an extreme case. In engineering school, and engineering in general, you look at all possibilities. You look from zero to infinity. I'm looking toward the infinity. I'm looking to see this thing really catch fire. Whether or not it will, remains to be determined by the market itself. But let's just imagine a really good status. Let's just say that we get 1 million people to pledge 100 ounces. Okay, so you pledge 100 ounces. That's 100 million ounces. That's enough to start swinging the market somewhat. 100 million ounces physical is a pretty hefty amount. Now, are we going to get that big or not? And the answer is I don't know. What I do know is it's worldwide. Cryptos are very hot. There's a lot of disgruntled silver people out there. And once this thing is launched, there's going to be, in fact, I digress again. There was one young guy that came up to me and said, "Man, I just love you." And I'm like, "Well, thank you." He goes, "I listened to one of your podcasts and you suggested, if you're doing really good in Bitcoin, maybe you ought to swap some into silver." And I did it at $17,000 a Bitcoin and moved half of my money into the silver market. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So that guy's pretty happy.
Wow.
Anyway, my idea about 2018 is it'll be a good year. I know I say that most years, but I think there's going to be a shift with all this going on geopolitically, going on with Trump in the office, and people just seeing through this Wall Street charade with the higher and higher stock market. Now that it's tumbled a bit, people are starting to get concerned. The bond market's got pressure on it. It may have topped already. Interest rates are going to start going higher. And there's a lot of people that are really, and the smart money's actually started to shift back into gold. The real smart money. I'm talking about the major, let's call them criminal banks. Let's just call them what they are, Rory. Those guys are talking one side of the ledger and moving the other direction. In other words, they're still bad-mouthing gold, but they're moving into it. So that's where we're at. So I think we're going to see a good year for silver and gold. But I think something like this, and I'm not going to put it all on the back of the load guys, but I am saying that another company came up to me that interviewed me at the show, and I haven't even had time to look at it yet, and I don't even know the whole URL. It was silvercoin dot, and I don't know if it's dot net dot com dot me. I mean, there's so many decimal whatever for on the internet now, but they had a system of a silverback crypto, and I know nothing other than almost the URL. I don't even know the whole URL. So this isn't maybe the only one I'm going to get involved in. This is the only one I know of where you could get rewards in physical silver. And I know these guys pretty well. Like I said, I knew one of the guys for years. This second guy that I did the interview with today is one that I have known now for a year. He was the main, one of the main guys there down in Anarchapulco. I mean, they had they're just stand-up people. I mean, they just, stood there all day, every day of the show and answered people's questions. And, it's not a hard sell. They're not there to twist your arm and give us silver. They're not like
Right.
that. It's like, this is, and they're going to, in fact, let me digress again. There's something in common about you and me, Rory. I don't know you really well. You don't know me really well, but we both know that we like honesty and integrity in a monetary system. We know that.
Yes.
And that's part of a creed that ties us together. So we're going to come up with a creed for the load program so that everybody goes, yeah, that's me. That's what I want. I want an honest, highly integrity monetary system that I can build my future upon, knowing that there's trust throughout the entire system, equal for everybody. Or, I just made it off the top of my head, but something to that effect. And it's like, yeah, I'm on board for that, And again, I've wanted to make this change my whole life. And let me digress one more time. I mean, there have been people along this road for me that have been significantly helpful to me. I mean, you look at Max Kaiser way back when, and Max came up with, buy silver, take out J.P. Morgan, and he pounded the table on that for years. So let me just do a shout out to Max Kaiser. The only problem was those SOBs could create more paper silver than you can ever create physically, and that battle wins for a while. And I know there's going to be listeners that are going to comment and say, well, David, you're wrong. They could continue doing it. And the answer is no, they can't. Paper doesn't equal physical. It never will. It never has. And at some point, they're going to run out. But if this load system, again, catches on fire, it's going to hasten the day of reckoning. And nothing would make this little, guy, I would say little guy, but, me, and a lot of me's, a lot of the silver aficionados out there that love an honest monetary system and have bought into the silver and gold stories for so long that have been basically taken advantage of these last 5 or 6 years to get, and I don't want to say get even, but I would say get vindication.
That's all we're looking for, is not necessarily vindication, but just something that's honest and real, and that is not transferring my wealth from me and my family to someone else who didn't deserve it, didn't do anything to assist me other than to help themselves to what I'm doing. And every time that I use a Federal Reserve note and participate in this currency system that is the one that we're forced to use, that's exactly what happens. Every single transaction that I make takes some of my wealth and hands it to someone else that didn't do anything except design a system to do exactly that. That's all that they did. And they did it 200 years ago, and they've been scamming us ever since. and I'm sick of it. And I think that's all that we want. We just want out. I just want out of this system of theft. That's all, because that's all that it is. And these criminal bankers, we need to just be able to do away with them. I mean, they aren't doing anything for our lives at all.
Right.
So
exactly. Yeah. And I forgot to mention, Roy, sorry if I interrupted.
You're fine.
That there will be a AGX Visa card. That's at least in the concept. So, it's like, well, I got all these, load coins or AGX coins, David. Well, now you'll have a debit card, and again, transparent to the merchant. So you've got, whatever. Let's just talk a number for a second here. You got 100 ounces of silver, which is what, $1,700, $1,600. That's a pretty good wallet. And you could buy gas and a few good meals in a hotel. It is what it is. But instead of having to, do you accept crypto or, it's the system already, as you said, just like gold money. So this is what's needed. You need something that's practical, that doesn't rock the current system. That you don't have to raise any eyebrows when you book a hotel and give them a number over the phone. These people are clueless. Let them stay clueless. And then maybe when you go there, you might, give them a small education or whatever. I don't want to get too far off on a tangent, but the point being is this is what's needed, something that's physically, practically accepted as is right now, and it's transparent to the merchant because they don't care. A lot of them don't even care or never will. And back to your point about the 2% or 3% on your Visa card, just think if you were the one issuing the Visa card and that 2% that goes through the system, part of the percentage goes to pay all the people that facilitate the load program, but what's left over buys more silver, and that goes into your account. That's kind of cool. And that's what the founders get. But they get it because they put up the silver to start the program. And they're not going to get it back the next day. And you can't back out once you make a pledge. It's just like calling your coin dealer and saying, I'm buying silver at 20. And then it drops to 18 the next day. Sorry, Charlie, you gave your word, and that's the way this system works. Anyway, again, I digress, but I'm so excited, Rory, and I'm so glad you gave me the chance to interview with you. You're such a great guy. You've done such a great deal for the community. I want to continue to contribute as much as I possibly can to the community, and I really think that starting this year, the shift is coming. Does that mean silver is going to be back up to $100 an ounce in 2018? No, it doesn't. But I mean, it's going to start moving that way again. And I think the more people that catch on to this, something physical that can actually move the market and they can participate in it, is going to catch that inflection point, that tipping point at some time, and that's when it really is going to take off.
I'm as excited about it as you are, David, and I think that I agree wholeheartedly that 2018 is going to mark a shift and perceptions. I think that that the foundation has already been built, and that people are sick of it. People are sick of the lies. They're sick of the deceit. They're sick of the lawlessness that is shoved down our throat. And I've said for a long time now that, the lawlessness that we put up with, that you put up with, that I do, everybody listening to this, it all starts with the currency. Every speck of lawlessness that is shoved down our throat begins with a criminal currency, like the Federal Reserve note. And until we get rid of that, we're stuck with it. We're stuck with lawlessness and corruption.
Yep.
So.
Amen. Yeah, I agree.
But we've been speaking with David Morgan. David, I certainly appreciate all the time, and I really appreciate all the excitement in this conversation. And give him the address for the cryptographics, silver, and load, and then the Morgan Report as well.
You bet. So the first thing you need to go to is ag.lode.one. That's ag.lode.one. And then the best thing to do if you're confused by that is just go to themorganreport.com. You'll see my picture on there and the little spiel. just give me your first name and a valid email address. You have to verify it's you and not a robot. And you'll be on our free e-letter. I have a membership service that costs money, and I also have a free service for the community. I've run it that way for years. And I will keep you abreast of the LOAD project and a lot of other things once you're on our free e-letter. And I'll be talking about this LOAD program all the way through from concept to fulfillment. And of course, again, we have not completed the entire white paper, and it won't be done until this thing is functioning. But at that time, we'll be able to see. There is a very good outline of everything I went through with you, Rory. In fact, I'm sure better than what we discussed, but we gave the top view of it.
Right.
And you can read more on the website.
Sounds good. I really like it. And we will most certainly keep track of what's going on with it. And I look forward to speaking with you in the not too distant future, David.
Thanks so much, Rory. Talk to you again.